Welcome everybody. Welcome Siddharth. So today we're here for the student spotlight section, and we're going to learn a little bit about Siddharth's experience in our program, as well as what his project specifically was on. So to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about what you did your project on?
Sure, of course. So, during my time in CCIR, I explored the feasibility and whether the world is ready for editing the human germline, which means, basically gene editing in human embryos. And not only did I look at, like the science behind it, but also how prepared we are, socially, like ethically. The fact that we can and have the ability to, edit genes at such a young age, and the fact that we can use it not only to prevent diseases, but also, change these non-disease related traits, right? Like eye color, things like that. The whole idea of designer babies and things that I heard about, years back, but never really understood them. And I got to explore that during this course. And I've had a lot of great insights from my professor. And one great thing that I found was that, my professor does know a lot about gene editing and CRISPR, and her work does rely on that, but she mainly works with, agriculture and plants. And the fact that she knew so much about, the area of my research and how much she could help me with that, I found that, amazing, and she was very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that speaks to how interdisciplinary a lot of the stuff that we're interested in can be. So you just talked about editing the genes, but also having to do with sustainability and ethics. And so it's not just a technical aspect. Can you share with us a little bit some of those insights that, either blew your mind or, you still think about till this day?
Yeah, of course. So, I've been researching, how research in this field has been changing. And one thing I found was that, in the past, we globally, it was regulated that we could only grow embryos in a lab up until 14 days. And, just a couple while back, they increased that, and there's no limit now. And of course, there's local regulations, but, when necessary, the capability of growing a human embryo in a lab, is past 14 days now. So I think that sort of speaks to how we're sort of deregulating the space. And something that's very important now, I think, is reaching a sort of consensus, talking about this on a global level. So different countries, different labs aren't following different rules and trying to find different things, right? So just having a sort of consensus, I think, is a priority.
Yeah, definitely. Which country did you base your research off of?
Right. So I'm in India right now, but the information I got and the research I did is definitely on a global level. And with this type of research, it's very dependent on where you are with local regulations. And in fact, afterwards, after I wrote the paper, I was planning on submitting to undergraduate journals, but my professor told me that she thought I could submit to sort of standard science journals where other researchers also submit their work, and I thought that was very exciting.
Mhm.
And one thing I asked her was, about co-authoring, and she said that, finding a researcher specifically that's worked on gene editing before by cold emailing them would be, good. So, I spent like 3, 4, 5 weeks on that, trying to find people to cold email, asking, to co-author for their insights. And a couple of weeks in, I wasn't getting any, solid responses. So I was asking her whether I should submit as a sole author, like a sole author to these journals. But luckily, the former dean of medicine and biology at Brown responded to me, and he's co-authoring with me now, Dr. Eli Adachi. So we're in the process of submitting to a journal, and very excited about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
congratulations. That is absolutely so exciting. And we all know that, publishing papers at even undergraduate or graduate level is so difficult. So you being able to do that at your education, at this, step in your education career is just phenomenal. And then also learning about the cold emailing and getting the courage to, reach out for quite a while. That's, it takes some persistence and it takes some
Mhm.
I guess, exposure to rejection for you to be able to push through, but eventually it worked out. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Um, Yeah, so with CCIR, I think before CCIR, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to the research world,
Mhm,
and I think this was my first step towards sort of solidifying what I want to do in the future as well.
mhm,
And sort of like introducing me to this world of biotechnology. In the future, I do want to set up a biotech company, like after undergrad. So I think having this exposure was really important, getting to connect with so many researchers, so many professors out in the field. And, while cold emailing, even if some researchers didn't really want to co-author, they did provide insights, and those were very helpful. So, after this research that I did with CCIR, I'm doing some more research in a different program related to aerospace medicine. So I'm sort of, broadening my areas of research and seeing, where I could apply that.
Yeah, definitely. Can you actually go into more detail about, how the program was able to help you narrow your topic of interest? Did you come in knowing specifically that this is what you wanted to do, or was it a little bit more broad, and then through the, I guess, iteration seminars, discussions, were you able to, narrow it down?
No, coming in, I was definitely sort of broad. I was looking through the, course outlines for the different courses available, and the CRISPR one stood out to me, but I really wasn't sure what to do or, the process, how to confront it. But, my professor and my TA helped out with that a lot. I had like 6, 7, 8 different topics that I wasn't really sure about, and they helped me narrow it down personally.
So you were talking about, how it was helping you narrow down your research topic. But how was that, how was that done? Was it through, did you go to office hours? Was it through discussion with peers in your program? Was it with the TA, with the professor? What did that look like very, I guess, tangibly?
Yeah, so I brainstormed a couple of topics and I spoke about them personally with the TA. And my professor did leave me, a lot of comments on my Google Doc about, what she thought would be interesting, what, based on what she thought I was interested in, what I would like, researching and all of that. And yeah, they were very helpful in terms of narrowing me down because I came in sort of very broad into this process. And once I went in, I'm absolutely sure that I wouldn't have chosen a different topic if I knew, if I was sure about it before. So yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. And so, since you came in pretty broad, we're gonna rewind our time till you were when you were applying to the program. So,
Mhm.
coming in as somebody who had a broad interest and was interested in CRISPR, what were some things that I guess you highlighted in your own application essay, or your own background in the course load that you're currently taking in high school that you think was really helpful to you then eventually excelling this program?
Right. So yeah, in addition to the courses I took, I've been a biochem student for the past couple of years, and I am interested in it. But the city I live in here in Hyderabad, there's a lot of pharmaceutical and biotech work happening here. And through friends of friends and family, I know people who work in the industry, and I've seen a lot happen just in like the past 10 years with the amount of development, the biotech industry has seen. And I know, that's even higher in the US where I plan on studying after. So just having that exposure, I highlighted that in my interview, from a young age, whether it was my parents who also work in the healthcare industry. And that exposure was really important in sort of, introducing me to this field, before I got into CCIR. But, after CCIR has really helped me sort of, solidify like where I'm going to go in the future now, because before, that exposure really didn't teach me that. Mhm.
Yeah, so it sounds like the journey is, I mean, you were brought in what you wanted to do, but you had an
Mhm.
interest that was very closely related to not only your family exposure, but also just the land that you grew up on and also the socioeconomic atmosphere, right? And then so taking that, it helps you have a little bit of an anchor. And with CCIR, it just gave you more of a direction in,
Yeah.
to go in the future. So what does this, look like in terms of the impact that it has on your, we're gonna, talk about the future now, the college application process. Do you think that it's helped you with that?
Yeah, I think for sure CCIR did definitely help me out with that. And aside from doing the research too, just having, going through a full college course with my professor, seeing the type of things they would teach in college and seeing how prepared I am based on my syllabus in high school. And, in addition to that, just showing that I am, I'm publishing at such a high level journal, I think would definitely stand out. And I'm very excited about that. And through the process as well, I was very unsure on how to approach publication or maybe submitting to journals, the CCIR team did help out with that a lot. There's very long emails about different conferences, different journals I could submit to. So yeah, they give me a lot of good advice as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because, writing an academic paper at the school level versus at a conference level or a journal level is definitely two different bears to tackle.
Mhm.
So did you receive any guidance from the academy in terms of, giving you feedback on your writing, whether or not the formatting or the content was up to par? Did, or the TA help you with that? Did the professor help you with that to make sure that your writing was up to that caliber?
Yeah. So I think my TA did walk me through a lot. He sort of introduced me to how to write a paper. And one thing that I was worried about with my paper, it was pretty long. It was like 10, 11 pages. So I was unsure about whether I needed to sort of shorten it. And, I was reassured that, going deep into something was better than touching it on a superficial level. And the CCR team did help me out with that too. My TA and the TA and the CCR team did give me a lot of feedback, and my professor helped me through the whole journey. And the fact that she gave me the advice to reach out to researchers in the field, I think they gave me a lot of subject specific insight that I needed for this paper.
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
then I guess my other question is because you spoke about so many amazing things about the program and how it's helped you. But if we were to turn back time, is there anything that you would have done differently in the program?
hmm yeah, so I think maybe spending a little bit more personal time, through the office hours. I think that's a very good part of the program that I could have utilized more. But aside from that, I think overall the through the TA sessions especially, I got like a lot of personal feedback and attention. During those TA sessions, he'd look through our papers, individually. He'd talk to us. So has he had so much experience in the field? I think that helped out. But in addition to that, I think before, because I was sort of broad, maybe doing a little bit of research on my own to see what I was interested in would have been helpful as well.
I think to speak to your point on, spending a little bit more personal time, what was your experience? Because we have, two hours per week of class time on a weekly basis. So how much time do you think you spent throughout the program? Or did it differ, for the first half or the second half of the program? What did the workload look like for you?
Right. So I think the first half of the program, where it was mainly based on the seminars, getting the sort of background information, it was less personal, right? I think the during the professor sessions, she sort of give lectures and we'd ask questions about that. But during the TA sessions, we'd go over these worksheets we had. They usually took like an hour or two to complete, and they weren't the type of worksheets that you could answer just by listening to the lecture. You did need to do a lot of personal research on your own. I think that helped me out, sort of prepared me for the process in the second half as well. And once we moved on to the second half, the TA sessions turned from looking over these worksheets to sort of how to writing your paper, the structure, how to approach things, and it was just very easy to ask questions to the TA in general as well. Mhm.
It's wonderful to hear. Did you have trouble or ease, juggling what you were doing with CCIR and what you already do at school, plus extracurriculars?
Um, I think it was definitely a challenge, but it wasn't difficult because sort of the way that it's spaced out, I think we do get a lot of time. And the fact that we do get, 2 hours a week where we can talk about feedback or we can talk about how to approach it and go further. And I think it depends heavily on what, like time period you choose in CCIR as well, because I chose the fall term, I didn't have exams or things like that blocking me too. So I got to, have a lot of time to explore my research topic.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing all your insight with us today. I loved learning about your project, but also how helpful the program was in terms of solidifying your current aspirations, but also helping you, propel forward. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, and
Thank you.
best of
Yeah.
luck with your projects in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Bye.